Howdy. This is Mr. Elmhorst with the Unit 5 test review for equations and inequalities. So looking at question number 1, we're just going to evaluate 3 expressions and see which one is going to be equal to negative 20. So the first one, we have negative 8 parentheses 3 plus 4. So the parentheses, this means it's multiplication. So we're going to multiply first. So 8 times 3 is 24. And a negative times a number is going to stay negative. And if you go negative 24 and then turn around and go positive, you're going to end up at negative 20. So second expression, negative 6 minus a negative 4 minus a 30 plus 22. So looking at the first term here, it looks like we have negative 6 minus a negative 4. If you take away negatives, minus minus is a plus plus. You're taking them away, so you're getting positive. So then we have negative 6 plus 4, and we're going to end up at positive, no, we're going to end up at negative 2. So negative 6, and then you go positive 4, you're going to end up at negative 2. So we rewrite the expression, and then we go from left to right. If you're negative 2 and then minus 30, you're going to end up at minus 32. And if you're at negative 32 and then go positive 22, you're going to end up at negative 10. And then the third expression here, so looks like we have multiplication here. We're going to multiply 4 times 3, which is 12. And a negative times a number will stay negative. And negative 12 minus 8, you're getting more negative. You're taking away 8, so you're going to end up at negative 20. So those expressions, this one is true, it equals negative 20. This one equals negative 10, and this one equals negative 20. So less than 5 feet below sea level. So if it's below sea level, it's below 0. And then we need any number that is less than negative 5. So these numbers are not less than negative 5. Negative 8 is less than, it's more negative, and negative 10 is less than negative 5. So 5 miles per hour, which means every hour, every variable will be 5 times x. 5 more hours, we're just going to add 5. And then the expression, any number that is under 5 is going to be less than 5. And the least is 5, at least 5. That means everything else is going to be equal to 5 or greater than 5. So setting up and solving, we have 3g minus 18 is less than or equal to negative 36. Circle the variable term just to identify where we're going to start solving. And the variable is on the left and it's positive. So the sign moves straight down into our answer. So we're going to have the variable g, and that's less than or equal to. Now we start solving. On the side with the variable, using inverses, the opposite of minus 18 is plus 18. So we're going to do plus 18 on both sides. 3g comes down to the next level. And if we have negative 36 and then we add and we go positive 18, we're going to end up less negative. We're going to end up at negative 18. Then we undo multiplying by 3. So we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. So students did really well in class with that today. So they knew this was the answer, but then they needed to understand that G is any number that is less than or equal to -6. And that could also be -12. So complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. They make up a right angle. So they add up to equal 90 degrees. So then we look at these two things inside this right angle. So we have 62, and then we're going to add 2x minus 8, and all of that, we have the first angle plus the second angle, and all of that equals 90. So now we have our equation, but we have like terms. We have 62 minus 8, 62 minus 8, which is 54. So we can simplify and rewrite this expression. So we have 2x plus 54 is equal to 90. Now we solve like a two-step equation, which it is. And we're going to minus 54 from both sides, bring 2 down to the next step. 90, we cannot subtract 4 from nothing, so we're going to borrow. So that's going to be 10 minus 4, which is 6, and then 8 minus 5, which is 3. And now we divide by 2 to isolate the variable. So now we have x equals 18. So the equation that we would use is 2x plus 54 equals 90, and x is equal to 18. If you're going to set up the equation, there's 14 on the left. The balance scale is showing it is equal to 4x on the right and also 6 positives. You're going to start solving on the side with the variable, separate the left side and the right side, and then subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, once we take away 6 from both sides, now we're left with 4x is equal to 8. We're going to continue doing inverses on the side with the variable. So 4 divided by 4 becomes 1x. So now we have x equals 2. Going there, which equation best represents the situation? All right, number 7, starting with writing down the equation and circling the variable term and the sign to the left. And then we have 8 on the left side, so we're going to remove the 8 by subtracting and go on the right side and remove the 8. So now we're left with h equals h divided by 4, which is equal to 4 minus 8. If you're positive and then you subtract 8, you're going to end up at -4. And then this means division, so we're going to multiply to do the opposite, to remove the dividing by 4. So now we're left with h is equal to -16. We have -1.4x minus 6 is less than 8. Circle the variable term and the sign to the left. Now this is negative. The negative variable term means we're going to flip this inequality sign during the solving process. So when we get a positive variable towards the end, when we undo the multiplying by -1.4, that is going to cause the inverse for the inequality sign and flip it around. So now we're going to solve using inverses. So we got -1.4x, and that is 14. Then the opposite of multiplying by -1.4 is going to be dividing by -1.4. And that is going to be positive. Negative divided by negative is positive. 1.4 divided by 1.4 is 1. So now we have x is going to be greater than. When we divided by the negative, it flipped our inequality solution. So now x is greater than. So this is where students were getting stuck. They were dividing by 1.4. But when you divide by 1.4, we need to move this decimal over to make it a whole number. And when you move that over to make a whole number, we have to move the decimal place value inside division also. So now we start dividing. 14 divides into 1 no time. 0. 14 divides into 14 one time. 1 times 14 is 14. Don't stop dividing there. We have one more digit left over. We have to go one more digit. 14 goes into 0 times. So x is now greater than 10 in our solutions. Wait, is that positive or negative 10? That's going to be negative 10 because it was 14 over negative 1.4. We knew that was 10, but it's going to be negative 10. Okay. All right, number 9, negative 4x minus 12 is greater than 4. So just looking at this inequality symbol, there's no line down below, so we're not using the shaded ones. There's no line down below, so now we need to solve. And because the variable term, this is negative, the sign is going to flip in our solution. So when we solve, we're going to get a positive x. Negative x is greater than, but positive x is going to be less than. So now we solve by using inverses. So we have negative 4x is greater than 16. And now we're going to divide by negative 4. And this dividing by negative 4, when the negative becomes a positive, that is where the sign flips. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by negative 4 is going to be negative 4. So x is less than negative 4. So we got x is going to be right here. X is going to be in the less than, going left, negative 4. Even though there's a decimal here for the coefficient, we are going to solve using the same process. Circle the variable term. The variable term is positive and on the left, so the sign stays the same. X is less than positive x, and positive x is less than or equal to. Now we're going to solve using inverses. So now we have 80 on the right side, and then 0.25x. We're going to divide both sides by 0.25. So this is going to cancel. 0.25 divided by 0.25 is 1x. So now we're going to solve 80 divided by 0.25. And just like the other one, when we have a decimal on the outside, we move the decimal over 2 places to the right to divide by a whole number. And when we move that 2 tens place value, we need to move it on the inside as well. Now we just divide by 25. So 25 goes into 8 no times. 25 goes into 80 3 times. 3 times 25 is 75. We're going to keep dividing. 25 goes into 50 2 times. 2 times 25 is 50. and there's no remainder, but we're not done dividing. We have one more digit. We need to bring it down and finish dividing. 25 goes into 0 times. So x is any number that is less than 320. There's a little confusion on this one in class. So if x is equal to -5, what it's saying is we're going to take out x. All right, I'm going to get back to that. So we're going to take out x and put in -5 to see what that would do to this expression. So take out x, put in -5. So 3 times -5 is going to be -15. And -15 plus 7 is going to be -8. All right, so now we're going to check these inequalities above. So we have all of these are saying -8. And if we look at the first choice and then the second choice and the third choice, we're seeing which one is true. So each one of these expressions on the left, they're all going to end up being -8. So now we ask the question, is -8 greater than -5? -8 is less than. It's more negative, and more negative numbers are less than. So -8 is less than -5. Yes. Is -8 greater than or equal to -5? No. And it is not all the above. So after substituting and checking, this expression would be true. Okay, now the last one, number 12, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6H, and all of these added together are equal to 360. And this is just a simple one step. We're going to divide both sides. So H is equal to 360 divided by 60. 360 divided by 6 is going to be, each one is equal to 60 degrees.